So this is the question here. Samsung MY is a high growth firm that is just success. Uh-huh. The valuation of equity. Now, where was I? Is a high growth firm that has just successfully launched a new mobile platform and is entering a three-stage growth cycle before maturing into a steady state firm. Specifically, dividends are expected to grow at a rate of 30% per year for the next 2 years, followed by a transitional growth rate of 15% per year for the subsequent 2 years, before finally stabilizing at a constant 8% per year indefinitely from year 5 onwards. The company has just paid an annual dividend of 2 kwacha 15 ngwe per share, and the required rate of return for the stock with this risk profile is 14%. Number one, determine the current intrinsic value of the stock. So, as I said, this is on valuation of equity, right? Specifically, valuing shares. So, when you're valuing shares, there are three types of questions that they can bring for valuation of shares. Okay. The no growth model, where the dividends are not growing. Then there's also the constant growth model, where the dividends will just be growing at a constant rate. Then you have the multi-stage growth model, which is the one we're looking here. Okay, because as you can see, the dividends, their growth rate is going to change. First 30% for 2 years, then next 15%, then it stabilizes at 8%. Okay, so this is the multi-stage growth model for valuing equity or valuing shares. Okay, so this is how you deal with this question. Okay, the first step is calculate the expected dividends. Okay, calculate step one. Calculate the expected dividends. Okay. How you find the expected dividend using this formula here. Okay. DO, which is the current dividend, you're going to multiply it by this growth factor. This 1 plus G, this is just 1 plus the growth rate. Okay. So this 1 plus the growth rate is called the growth factor. Okay. So when you're calculating expected dividends, this is the formula you're going to be using. Okay. So the last dividend that was paid, okay, which we also use as our DO or our current dividend, is 2 kwacha 15 ngwe. All right, that has been mentioned in the question. Okay, so since the lifeline of these dividends is 5 years, so we're going to calculate the expected dividends for 5 years. Okay, so here you're going to say 2.5 multiplied by 1.3. This 1.3, how it came about. Remember, for the first 2 years, the growth rate is growth rate at 30%. 1 plus 0.3. 0.3 is just 30% converted into a decimal, which becomes 1.3. Okay, colleagues. Since they told us the first 2 years, it's at going to be at 30%. The dividends will grow at around 30% for the next 2 years. Okay. So you're going to start 2.5 times 1.3, you get 3.25. Okay, this is the expected dividend in year one. We go to year two. The dividend you calculated from year one, you're going to multiply it by 1.3. You're going to get 4.225. This is the expected dividend for the second year. Okay. Now, the growth rate changes because we said 30% for 2 years. Now, 2 years have elapsed, the growth rate changes. The growth rate at 15%. 15% as a decimal is 0.15. We're going to get 1.15. Okay. So we'll continue with this from this 4.225. Let's say 4.225 times 1.15. You get 4. Let's just leave it two decimal places. 4.85. Then in year four, 4.85 multiplied by 1.15, 5.59. Okay. Then now the rate changes again. Okay. Because we said 15% for the subsequent 2 years before stabilizing at a constant rate of 8% per year indefinitely. So now this growth rate of 8% is going to continue forever. Okay, growth rate at 8%. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The one 3.25. Mm-hmm. Say that again. No, for year two, we're still multiplying by 1.3 here. They've told us that they said for 2 years the growth rate will be at 30%. Then the subsequent 2 years, 15%. Then afterwards, on year five, it's going to be at 8% forever. You go to year three, and then year three now it's at 15%. Okay. Yeah. Year three, 15%, year four, 15%. Then year five now. Year five until infinite, it's 8% here. Okay. Any questions? That is the first thing you need to do first. Find these expected dividends. Okay, you need to find these expected dividends because, oh, I forgot to even mention this. The logic that we're using here is this: the value of a share is the present value of all the future dividends that are going to be paid. Okay. It is the present value of all the future dividends that are going to be paid. Similar with also bond valuation. The value of a bond is the present value of all the future money that you're going to receive from that bond. So even here, the value of a share is the present value of the future money that you're going to receive from the bond. That is the logic here. Okay, that was the first thing I need to mention. Are we clear with that concept? Because after we found these expected dividends, the next thing that we need to do is we need to get their present values because we're trying to find the value of the share. Okay. The reason why we're calculating these expected dividends, okay, is because one want to get their present value so that we can tabulate the value of the share. Are we okay with that, colleagues? Madam Matilda, is that okay? Madam Vida, is that okay? Mr. Ronald and Mr. Patson, is that okay? Because if you haven't got that concept, what will be these calculations here are not going to make sense at all. Okay. So the value of a share is the present value of the future money that you're going to receive from this share. Those are the dividends you see. The money that you receive from a share is a dividend. So those dividends, you want to find their value today so that you can value the share. Is that okay, colleagues? Madam Matilda, I haven't heard from you. I haven't heard from anybody. Because I don't want you to be lost as I'm calculating. So that I forgot to mention that at first today. Yes. Are there any questions? Mr. Patson, is that okay? Have we written this concept down? Because remember, this course, colleagues, is a very hard course. It's very hard. But once you understand the concepts, life becomes better. Yes, someone was about to say something. Okay. Now, there's what we call the terminal value. Okay. What this terminal value is accounting for is for the dividends after year 5. Okay, because it says that starting from year 5 onwards, the dividends are going to grow at 8%. Okay. Now, can you imagine calculating all those dividends? Year 6, year 7, year 8, 9, 10, 11, you even reach year 30, because we're saying that the dividends will grow at 8% forever. Okay. So now, since you can't calculate all of those, it will be a long task. This is where we get the terminal value. Okay, colleagues? This is where we get the terminal value. The terminal value is accounting for the dividends after year 5, which will be growing at 8% forever. Are we okay with that, colleagues? Let me repeat. Okay, okay, yes. Let me just repeat that one more time. After year 5, the dividends will grow at 8% forever. So to account for those dividends after year 5, this is where we bring in the terminal value. This terminal value is accounting for those dividends after year 5. Okay, it's going to account for all of those dividends. Okay, so this is the formula for the terminal value. Okay, the price of the share is the value of next year's dividend over the discount rate minus the growth rate. Okay. the required rate of return, which will be used as the discount rate, required rate of return, growth rate, next year's dividend, right? So since the indefinite growth rate starts in year 5, okay, so when getting this terminal value here, you have to put TV, terminal value here, okay. We're going to use this dividend here for D5, this one here, which we calculated, this 6.03, okay. We're going to start with this dividend here. That's the one that you're going to use. Okay, the expected dividend for year 5, since it's from year 5 and onward. So use the expected dividend for year 5, okay, which I've already calculated here, over the required rate of return. The required rate of return is, where is this? 14%. Okay, the required rate of return for a stock with this risk profile is 14%. Okay, and the growth rate is 8%. Okay, so 6.30, okay, this 6.30 divided by 0.14 minus 0.08. Okay, 0.14 minus 0.08, you get 0.06. Then you do 6.03 divided by 0.06, you get 100 kwacha 57.6576. Okay, so this is the terminal value. This represents the dividends, okay, that are going to be growing at 8% forever. Any questions? Okay, so once you've got the expected dividends for year 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and the terminal value, we are now going to convert these, because all of this is money in the future. I'm going to convert all of this into the present value. And that present value is going to represent the price of the stock, the intrinsic value of the stock. Okay? Yes. So step 2 is just get the present value of the expected dividends and terminal value. Okay. So remember the formula for present value. Present value equals future value over 1 plus R to the power T. Or you can say present value equals future value 1 plus R to the power negative T. Any of these formulae can work. All right. Yes. So I'm using here D1 over 1.141. This is the expected dividend for year 1. D2 over 1.14 to the power 2, expected dividend for year 2. These powers are in line with the years. Okay, these powers are in line with the years. The expected dividend for year 3, 1.14 to the power 3. Then the expected dividend for year 4, 1.14 to the power 4. Okay. Then this here, this P4, okay, I should have put it as this is the terminal value basically. Okay. This terminal value also we're going to discount it. Now notice the year that we're discounting it. We're discounting it in year 4, not in year 5. This is where you have to pay close attention, colleagues. For the terminal value, okay, if your time, like here, the timeline was 5 years, right? And they told us on the 5th year, that's when the indefinite growth will begin. So the terminal value, you calculate it in the year before the indefinite growth starts, because the logic behind is that this terminal value is going to be applied at the end of year 4. Okay, the logic that's there is that the terminal value is going to be applied at the end of year 4. So it has to be discounted back 4 years. So don't discount it to the power year, to the power 5, no, but to the power 4. Any questions? So you do it like this. Let me put it like this here. 3.25 expected dividend for year 1. 4.225 4.85. Remember, I started rounding off from here. Then here it was 5.58. And then finally the terminal value. That 100 kwacha we calculated. 100 kwacha, 100 point 100.5760. Okay. Yes. So you do 3.25 divided by 1.14, 4.25 divided by 1.14 squared, 4.85 divided by 1.14 to the power 3, 5.58 divided by 1.14 to the power 4, then 100.5760 divided by 1.14 to the power 4. Okay, just always remember terminal value is discounted at the year before the indefinite growth starts. In this question, the indefinite growth started in year 5. So the terminal value will be discounted at the end of year 4. Then when you do your tabulations, okay, after you've done all the discountings, these are the present values of all the dividends and the terminal value. You're going to get 72.89394. That is the value of the share. That's how much someone must pay for this share when they go to the securities exchange.